Welcome to the World Rally Championship. Get ready for a global journey across ice, snow, tarmac, mud and gravel with the planet's most talented drivers. The 2005 WRC season takes place over 6,000 kilometres of competitive stages, spanning 16 different countries and 5 continents. This is motorsport at its most extreme. Varying surfaces, landscapes and weather go to make the World Rally Championship a massive challenge for drivers and cars alike. They're pitted against the clock over special stages that can incorporate high-speed jumps, hairpins and water crossings. This is a truly worldwide experience, from the snows of Northern Europe, where the Swedish Rally takes place, to the foothills of the Andes, home of Rally Argentina, and through the Australian outback. The backdrops are as impressive as the driving skills on display. And it's not just about the man behind the wheel. This is a two-man game. The pace notes delivered by the co-driver guide the driver through the stages. It's crucial these notes are inch perfect to hit high speeds, negotiate twists and avoid hazards. 2004 saw Frenchman Sébastien Loeb and co-driver Daniel Elena take the title on home soil in Corsica, with their French team Citroën also taking the manufacturer's title. Citroën are seeking to repeat this double in 2005 with Belgian François Duval in the number 2 car. 2003 world champion Peter Solberg remains as Subaru's number 1. He's joined by Australian Chris Atkinson and former F1 driver Stéphane Sarrazin. This looks to be one of the most exciting lineups, but the strongest appears to be Peugeot's. The French team acquired the services of Estonia's Marco Martin to provide backup to their long-standing number 1, Marcus Gronholm. The big question here is, has the team been able to cure the technical problems which held back the 307 in 2004? It's all change at Ford, with Finland's Tony Gardemeister and Roman Kresta of the Czech Republic starting as their 2 lead drivers. Mitsubishi keep Gigi Gali and Gilles Panizzi, but include Harry Rovanperä to ensure spice to their challenge. He only knows one speed, and that's fast. Skoda have the experienced German Armin Schwarz at the helm, but will be calling on a host of up-and-coming talent. France's Alex Bengay and Jani Passanen and Jani Tuihino of Finland, the drivers in question. So those are the names to look out for. Your job is just to sit back and enjoy the greatest spectacle in motorsport, the WRC 2005.
Reigning world champion Sébastien Loeb got the 2005 season underway in the shadow of Monte Carlo's famous casino. 360 kilometres of ice and snow-covered tarmac awaited him in the mountains above. Would the cards fall in his favour this year? Early on the first day, it appeared they would, as he built a commanding lead. And it was a good day all round for Citroën. Their new signing François Duval was lying second. This event is not one of Peter Solberg's favourites, his best ever finish being 6th, and he was finding problems as early as the first stage, losing his brakes on this downhill section. With Citroën looking to be in a class of their own, the battle to watch was the one for 3rd place between Peugeot's Marcus Gronholm, Ford's new boy Tony Gardemeister, and Solberg, who was beginning to find his feet. The start of day 2 saw this become the battle for 2nd. François Duval collided with a telegraph pole on stage 6. The pole was broken in 2 and co-driver Stéphane Prévost taken to hospital for treatment on a badly bruised leg. Another driver in the wars was Skoda's Armin Schwarz. An error on stage 7 saw him roll out of the rally. A dislocated shoulder his reward. Mitsubishi were having a much better time with no sign of the mechanical problems which dogged their 2004 season. Gilles Panizzi ended the day in 6th. On day 3, the trio in the race for second place was separated by just over 20 seconds. Gronholm was holding steady in second, but Petter Solberg was on a charge.
3, 2, 1, go.
On stage 11, he overhauled Tony Gardemeister, and entering stage 12, which passed over the famous Col de Turini, he was within 20 seconds of Gronholm.
Snow early, 6 right minus to ice, 6 left minus out.
But on the descent from the Col, he was caught by this patch of snow.
Opens 40.
It would be another Monte Carlo to forget for the Norwegian.
I had double caution ice and I braked just too late and just gained speed on the ice and went into the stone wall and took a wheel off.
Gronholm only needed to hold it together to record his best ever Monte Carlo result, but on the same spot where Solberg was caught out, again disaster. Making it back to service on 3 wheels, Marcus finished 5th. With the demise of Solberg and Gronholm, Tony Gardemeister inherited 2nd place, his best ever WRC result on his debut for Ford. And up to 3rd, Gilles Panizzi, Mitsubishi's first podium since 2001. But the top spot for the 3rd year was Sébastien Loeb's, a perfect way to launch his Drivers' Championship defence. So Loeb started the season with a maximum, while it was a solid debut for Marco Martin in the Peugeot in 4th.
The build-up to the Swedish Rally had been overshadowed by the issue of snow, or rather, the lack of it. But a late flurry on the eve of the rally saved the day. Although the lack of deep snowbanks lining the stages would present problems. Despite an uncertain beginning, the 2005 event would provide one of the WRC's most gripping battles. The man setting the early pace was Petter Solberg. He won the first 2 stages of the rally, but a wrong tyre choice on the 3rd stage took the edge off the Norwegian's pace.
Right plus, don't cut, half long.
But it was a more fundamental error that would slow Sébastien Loeb's progress on stage 4. Step forward Peugeot's Marcus Gronholm, a 3-time Sweden winner. He hoped to give retiring team boss Corrado Provera a rally to remember. Recording fastest times on stages 3 and 4, he went into the lead. Solberg hit back on stage 6 and was back in the lead, but by just 1/10 of a second. The day's final stage was the short Hagfors sprint stage. What could Gronholm do in just 2 kilometres? He went faster by 0.3 of a second, ending an enthralling opening day as rally leader. And the day 2 action would match the fireworks of day 1. First blood to Gronholm with a win on the day's first stage. Solberg's response was absolute, beating the Finn by 9.7 seconds on the next stage to open a lead of more than 8 seconds. Gronholm wasn't going to take this lying down. Stage 10 saw him reduce the deficit to 6.2 seconds, after which he stated his strategy for regaining the lead.
Yeah, we have to make Solberg a little bit nervous now.
On stage 11, the lead reverted to Gronholm, and he increased it by a further few tenths on the following stage. Solberg fought back and won the last 2 stages of the day, opening up a lead of 12.6 seconds. He was sending back everything that Gronholm could throw at him with interest. Sébastien Loeb appeared to be settling for the final podium position, always in close attendance to the top 2, but never making an impact. But his second day would end with uncharacteristic mechanical problems for Citroën. The Zara had blown a head gasket. The team made sure Loeb was at the start line of day 2, but the mood at Citroën was downcast. Back to the action at the sharp end, Solberg was quickest out of the blocks on day 3 and increased his lead by a few tenths on the first stage. With the lead standing at 13 seconds, Gronholm had the choice to attack or settle for second. But to the Finn, victory is everything. There would be no points in Sweden for Gronholm, not the parting gift his team boss was looking for.
By finishing even second, he would have done a very good operation for himself, driver's classification, and for us, manufacturer. So I am a little bit disappointed, to be honest.
Loeb had hoped to nurse his ailing Citroën to the end. His lead over Marco Martin would have allowed this, but the strain had been too much and he would retire at the end of stage 18. Now the leaderboard looked very different. After struggling to find a comfortable setting in his Peugeot over the past 3 days, Marco Martin found himself in second place. While Ford's Tony Gardemeister was promoted to third, and with his 8 points from Monte Carlo, he was now leading the championship. But the man of the moment was Petter Solberg, virtually a home win for the driver from just across the border in Norway. And his army of fans showed their appreciation. 10 points for that win put Solberg level with Sebastian Loeb in the Drivers' Championship, but it was Tony Gardemeister who found himself heading the standings, and a double celebration for Ford, who also lead the Manufacturers' Championship.
It was a colourful Central American welcome for the crews at the third round of the World Rally Championship, the Rally Mexico. And it was an impressive debut for the latest evolution of the Subaru Impreza. Petter Solberg and Phil Mills with 6 stage wins, the Subaru pairing led the rally from start to finish. They romped home to their second successive win of the year.
Fantastic.
And Petter was determined to continue the party atmosphere of this event at the podium. The only serious challenge to Solberg's dominance came from the Peugeot of Marcus Gronholm and last year's Mexico winner Marco Martin. Although hindered by brake problems, Gronholm would finish second, his best result of the year so far. Unable to catch his teammate, Marco Martin would have to settle for third, maintaining his second position in the championship and helping Peugeot take over the lead in the race for the manufacturer's title. But the performance of the rally was from 2004 world champion Sebastian Loeb. Lying in second after the first stage, he damaged the rear suspension and broke the damper. Destroying a tyre in the process, he charged through the pack, picking off those in front of him one by one, culminating in making up the best part of 30 seconds on Tony Gardemeister and Harry Rovanperä on the final stage, his finishing position fourth. Solberg's winning margin over 30 seconds. Gronholm was second and Marco Martin third, helping Peugeot to take the lead in the manufacturer's standings. While Petter Solberg takes over the lead in the Drivers' Championship, Tony Gardemeister is overtaken by Marco Martin. One person who would want to forget Mexico was Ford's Danny Sola. The Spaniard was nominated as the second Ford driver to score points and had been lying as high as fifth before this happened. Ford data showed that the car was doing in the region of 80 to 90 miles an hour when it went off the road. It's true testament to the strength of these WRC cars that both Sola and his co-driver walked away unscathed.
Rally New Zealand, a foot to the floor, flat-out event. The drivers love it here.
Super piège,
And the man who enjoyed it the most was Sebastian Loeb. With the help of some new rubber from Michelin, he took the lead on stage 4 and stayed there.
200 mètres, gauche à fond.
Loeb's closest challenger had been Marcus Gronholm. He managed 6 stage wins, but could never quite get on terms with the Frenchman. This was partly due to his Pirelli tyres, which seemed to be second best to Michelin in this event.
always there is somebody in front. Seems to be difficult to win, but we have to try. I am quite happy that we could keep Solberg behind. He have won 2 rallies this year, and now it seems to be that he's trying to have a small advantage maybe with the tires. I don't know, but this time hopefully we can catch them.
Petter Solberg had the lead for the first 3 stages. But day 2 saw him in a fight for second with Marcus Gronholm, who eventually outpaced the Norwegian. His consolation here that third was enough to keep his lead in the Drivers' Championship.
Opens up long and tightens. 15.
Further down the leaderboard, Loeb's teammate François Duval was happy to settle for 4th. This his first points finish after a difficult start to the season. Behind the Belgian, the battle to watch was for 5th place. Australian Chris Atkinson was leading the fight on the first day. However, a misguided change in setup on day 2 was to see him finish 7th in this 3-way fight. Taking over the reins on day 2 was Tony Gardemeister. Also benefiting from the new Michelin rubber, he was in 5th going into the final stage. But Marco Martin had closed the gap to just 4 seconds, and a concerted push from the Estonian saw him finish the final stage 11.5 seconds quicker than Gardemeister, taking 5th place. However, the weekend had always belonged to Loeb. 8 stage wins and a minute's lead meant the battle was already won by the start of day 3, and the fans could just take in the spectacular scenery as Loeb cruised to victory.
50 mètres, gauche 80 plus long.
So a convincing win for Loeb, his 2nd of the season. This helped him to move on to the heels of the championship leader, Petter Solberg.
The Mediterranean island of Sardinia was for the 2nd time home to the Rally Italia. With 2 wins apiece so far this season, Petter Solberg and Sebastian Loeb were looking to gain the upper hand in the race for the World Drivers' title. But Peugeot's Marcus Gronholm is a man with a point to prove. He was fastest on the opening stage, showing he was in the mood to put a stop to the Loeb-Solberg dominance. But on stage 3, Gronholm was too quick. Not his fault, the blame lay with an incorrect pace note which saw the Peugeot enter the bend too fast. But now, disorientated from the numerous rolls, Gronholm's main priority was to find the right way up the stage.
Direction!
He made it back to service where his team amazingly got the car back in racing shape, and Gronholm would end the day back in the points in 7th. François Duval is another in need of a good result and was in 4th position entering stage 4. Another big off, and this time it looks like driver error. Duval reacting too late to a pace note. For the 4th time in 5 events, Duval would score no driver's points. Another driver feeling the sharp end of Sardinia was Mikko Hirvonen. Running in a privately entered Ford Focus, he had been as high as 3rd until this off-road excursion brought his rally to an end. This carnage had helped to restore the natural order. Sebastian Loeb found himself in a very comfortable lead, while Petter Solberg had fought his way up to 2nd after an indifferent beginning. But the man bucking the trend was Harry Rovanperä. Holding 3rd, he'd set a string of competitive times in his Mitsubishi to hold off the challenge of a pack of drivers, including Marco Martin and Tony Gardemeister. But Marcus Gronholm might prove a different proposition. After his day 1 travails, the Finn had worked his way back up to 4th, and entering the final day was just over 13 seconds behind his former teammate Rovanperä.
9.
But now Rovanperä extended his lead, and nobody was more impressed than co-driver Risto Pietilä.
Voitettiin molempia. Täytyy. Wow.
This was a stirring performance from Rovanperä and the Mitsubishi, but as we have seen before, Sardinia takes no prisoners. On the very next stage, Rovanperä found a roadside rock. A broken wishbone would mean retirement and heartbreak. Up in front, Loeb had entered the final day with a 55-second advantage over Solberg. He would need to take no risks. His 8 stage wins was a measure of how he dominated here. So Loeb's win puts him 1 point ahead of Solberg in the championship, and Gronholm closes on Martin in third.
After the destruction that had been dished out in Sardinia, if the crews were looking for some respite, the hot, rough, rocky roads of Cyprus weren't the place to be heading. The opening stage, Langudera, is regarded as one of the toughest of the season.
Eikä. Ja sammu koko auto. Engine stall. Engine has stall and we cannot start. Engine has stall.
Marcus Gronholm's rally was over. A stone had broken the timing belt and a bent valve saw him unable to restart the car. Punctures are always an issue here, and Harry Rovanperä passed Tony Gardemeister while he stopped in stage 4 to change a tyre. But when Rovanperä developed transmission problems a few kilometres further on, it was Gardemeister who needed to do the passing. And a moving target isn't quite as easy to get by. Armin Schwartz described this as his most difficult day ever. On stage 3, his co-driver lost his place in the pace notes.
Klaus, come on!
Normally when something is coming this deep.
Right 3 long, bump! Schau kommen, schau wie weit noch!
And it didn't get any better, when later on the same stage the power steering on his Skoda failed. Petter Solberg had been holding second, but he was finding plenty of problems. Dirt in the air filter, an overheating engine and a failing clutch were all too much, and retirement was the only option. All this saw Sebastian Loeb end the day with a lead of more than 2 minutes. But elsewhere, Cyprus was still creating havoc. François Duval brakes too late for this stage 11 corner. And when he tries to restart the engine, the car bursts into flames. This was the Belgian's 3rd big off in 6 events, a situation which would have repercussions for his future at Citroën. In 3rd place, Henning Solberg had fought valiantly to hold off the challenge of Marco Martin, and he entered the final day with a lead of nearly 20 seconds over the Estonian. But on stage 15, the 3rd of the final day, Henning had a problem with his throttle, causing him to briefly stop on the stage. The time lost allowed Martin up into the final podium position. Disappointment for Solberg Senior, but still a great performance. But without doubt, the performance of the weekend was that of Manfred Stoll and co-driver Ilka Meiner. After manoeuvring into 2nd place at the end of day 1, they performed maturely, while more experienced factory-backed drivers found trouble. He would be the first privateer to take a podium position for 5 years, and a few of the major team bosses would be taking notice.
I'm very happy and it's a fantastic result for me.
But way out in front, yet again, Sebastian Loeb. 3 wins in a row, a first for him and a first for Citroën. Further down the leaderboard, Tony Gardemeister's 5th place gave Ford their 50th consecutive points finish. And in the manufacturers' table, Ford climb a place ahead of Subaru and are now 3rd.
As the WRC arrived in Turkey, all the attention was on Carlos Sainz, who was called out of retirement by the Citroën team as temporary replacement for Francois Duval. But yet again, it was the Citroën #1, Sébastien Loeb, who would make the headlines once the rally got underway. He won 10 of the 17 stages on the way to recording a 4th consecutive WRC win. The first time this has been done since Timo Salonen in 1985. But it was not all plain sailing. There'd been a lot of rain which had made the stages treacherously muddy. Here Loeb just about negotiates one such section on stage 7. The only man to get close to him was Mitsubishi Gigi Gali, who was second fastest to Loeb over the opening stages and even had the temerity to take the lead briefly on stage 4. This was looking like the performance of the rally. But on the first stage of day 2, a pipe on his turbo became disconnected as he applied the revs to get off the start line. 2 stalls and a lack of boost through the stage saw him lose nearly 4 minutes. He would eventually finish 8th, disappointing but still a demonstration of what he and Mitsubishi may be capable of. Gali's second place was taken by Marcus Gronholm, and his battle for Petter Solberg would be from here on in the one to watch.
Oikein nopea, älä. Oikein nopea, älä.
Solberg had started the day 17.4 seconds down on Gronholm, but he reduced this on every stage until taking second on stage 13. Gronholm, although under team orders to finish at all costs, hung on to the Norwegian. But when Solberg posted a time nearly 10 seconds faster on the first stage of day 3, it looked like it was game over. His team boss David Lapworth seemed to agree.
10 seconds.
But these podium finishes would be of little consolation to these two, as for the 4th rally running they had still not been able to find an answer to the question of how to stop Sébastien Loeb. And with Carlos Sainz doing the job asked of him, bringing the car home safely in 4th, Citroën looked to be getting their bid to retain the manufacturer's title back on track as well. Loeb's winning margin just short of a minute, while Solberg holds off Gronholm for second and an impressive return for Sainz.
The 2005 Acropolis Rally opened in the Olympic Stadium in Athens. 60,000 spectators drowned out the roar of the engines as the WRC's finest went head-to-head over the 2.4-kilometre Super Special. As the drivers got back onto gravel, things didn't go well for Petter Solberg. He was lucky to survive this moment on stage 2, with just some severe damage to the rear end. But on stage 5, a broken drive shaft saw him lose his four-wheel drive and drop down to 14th place. Sébastien Loeb struggled with understeer on the first day, but still finished it in the lead, and with his more favourable start position on day 2, set about reminding everybody why he is top of the driver's standings. He won all the day's stages. Marcus Gronholm had the lead for most of day 1 and was running in second on day 2 when his Peugeot suffered a broken drive shaft, dropping him back to 4th. This promoted Tony Gardemeister to second place. The Ford driver had got the better of an entertaining battle with Carlos Sainz. But still, the great Spaniard seemed to be on his way to the 98th podium finish of his career in what looks like his last ever WRC appearance. Is this really goodbye for Carlos? Elsewhere, the prize for the biggest off of the rally went to Skoda's Jani Passanen.
Miinus pitkä.
the Skoda falling 20 metres down a cliff on stage 11. But for the 5th rally in a row, Sébastien Loeb was again the winner. Another WRC record falls to the Frenchman. At the halfway point in the season, his win tally stands at 6. One more would give him the record for the most number of wins in a season. But what was of more interest to Loeb was the absence of his closest rival Petter Solberg from the top 8. The Norwegian could finish no higher than 9th after his day 1 problems.
What about 5 straight wins? Are you a man that looks at records? Do you like that sort of thing?
Yes, I like it, but like I said, it's not my most important target. For me, the most important is to have now 23 points lead on Petter on the championship.
So Loeb extending his lead over Solberg in the Drivers' Championship, with Tony Gardemeister jumping up to 3rd. In the Manufacturers' Championship, Sainz's podium place helped Citroën to go in front of Peugeot. Ford, in 3rd place, extend their lead over Subaru.
As ever, the Argentine public had turned out in force as the WRC arrived in their country. Over 2 million were expected to make it onto the stages over the 3 days. Solberg's early speed suggested he was in the mood to bring Sébastien Loeb's winning run to an end.
Keep left of a crest. 60, deep water splash 2. 20.
But as expected, he was cautious through the deeper water splashes, no doubt mindful of his retirement in one last year.
20. Keep right.
And Loeb is a man who'll punish any hesitancy. He took the lead on stage 5, and by the end of day 1, his advantage was over 30 seconds. Not even a bull in the middle of the road on stage 7 could upset his rhythm. Marcus Gronholm was holding 3rd position, and as far as he was concerned, he was doing the best he could.
It's absolutely impossible to go faster with this car. I am sure.
Mitsubishi's 2 drivers were going well. Gigi Gali was up to 4th before broken front suspension stopped him in his tracks. That pushed teammate Harry Rovanperä up to 5th and into a battle with fellow Finn Tony Gardemeister. It was a cautious return to the championship for Francois Duval, but importantly he was still on the road. On day 2, the stages were wider and faster, and there was more rain, which seemed to suit Marcus Gronholm. He won 3 of the morning stages and overtook Petter Solberg in 2nd place on stage 14. The Norwegian's challenge to retake 2nd hit problems in the afternoon.
No brakes.
What, from the start or just now?
Halfway.
He was lucky to still be running after 3 offs on the last stage of the day.
See if it'll go.
On day 3, the battle to watch over the mountain landscapes of El Condor and Mina Clavera was between Harry Rovanperä and Tony Gardemeister. Ford's number 1 had held off Rovanperä since day 1, but the Mitsubishi driver's persistence whittled away at his lead. In the end, though, he failed to catch his compatriot by just 5.6 seconds. But it was Sébastien Loeb who was again making history. As well as beating Colin McRae's stage record on El Condor, the Frenchman went on to take his 7th win of the season. Loeb finished with an advantage of 26.1 seconds ahead of Marcus Gronholm, with Petter Solberg another half a minute further back. And the leaderboard confirms the Frenchman's 27-point lead. Solberg still second, while Gronholm leapfrogs Gardemeister and Martin.
Rally Finland is always an exciting event, and this year it had the added spice of providing the best opportunity for Petter Solberg and local hero Marcus Gronholm to end Sebastian Loeb's record-breaking run. And four-time Finland winner Gronholm made his knowledge of these roads count early on, taking the rally lead after stage 3. Petter Solberg was fastest on stage 1 and his Pirelli tyres were working well on the damp roads. But closest to the flying Finn after 3 stages was the championship leader. Loeb was just 4 seconds behind. Gronholm's local knowledge is not absolute. He was one of a number of drivers to be caught out by a heavy landing on a new stretch of road on stage 5. For a while there were doubts co-driver Timo Rautiainen could continue due to severe bruising. He was given the all clear, but Gronholm reduced his pace to protect his injured co-driver, and their lead over Loeb was only 5.8 seconds by the end of day 1. An off on stage 8 saw Petter Solberg lose his rear spoiler. And the resultant lack of downforce nearly spelled disaster.
40, small crest, 50, keep right of
It was a lucky escape, but the lost time ended any chance he had of taking first place. Winner here in 2003, Marco Martin put in a strong performance to help Peugeot's push for the manufacturer's title.
50 jump, 50 crest, 70 jump, flat left, 100 flat left.
But his teammate Gronholm could sense victory. He hadn't won since his home event a year ago, but with all but 2 stage wins on leg 2 and cheered all the way by his legions of fans, the Finn was in imperious form. Loeb managed to keep in touch with Gronholm throughout the second day, but on the final stage, a puncture lost him 30 seconds. The victory would be Gronholm's.
180 mètres. Droite sur frein pour 100 mètres, attention, gauche 140 plus sur le.
This was the Peugeot driver's 5th Rally Finland win in 6 years. He is the undoubted master of this event.
8 vasen pyöreä ylinypyn, ei sisälle. Ja oikea eri jouhea ahdas. 100. Ja oikea eri. No niin. Tääkin on vähän ahdas. Joo, mä otan vauhdin pois. Yes. Okei. Onneksi olkoon. Joo. Samoin. Stage is clear for Marcus. Thank you.
I'm happy for ourselves and for the team and everybody. So it was a good moment now to take it.
Marco Martin in 3rd meant there were 2 Peugeots on the podium. Solberg eventually finished 4th. Gronholm's win saw him move to 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, but Loeb was still in control. Meanwhile, in the manufacturers' standings, Peugeot had edged ahead of their French rival Citroën by just 1 point.
In its 3 years as part of the World Championship, Rally Deutschland has established itself as one of the most unpredictable events on the calendar. And 2005 provided plenty of problems for the crews. This is a tarmac rally, but a tarmac rally like no other. But the difficulty of the event has never been a problem for Sebastian Loeb. He has won all 3 rallies in Germany since it joined the WRC. And his day one performance, winning 5 of the 6 stages, suggested he was intent on making it 4. The remaining stage was won by Citroën teammate Francois Duval. After his early season problems, the Belgian was under pressure to start scoring big points to help Citroën keep pace with Peugeot in the Manufacturers' Championship. And so far he was doing the job asked of him, ending the day 2nd. He'd even held the lead for 1 stage. In that battle for the Manufacturers' title, Marcus Gronholm was flying the flag for Peugeot. He was 3rd fastest at all of the day 1 stages to hold 3rd place, but he was already admitting that he could not compete with the Citroën Michelin package on tarmac. Of the other big names, Peter Solberg had held 4th position, but was always off the pace. A gearbox problem early on day 2 saw him drop out of the points. He would eventually finish 7th. Tony Gardemeister got an early taste of the local wine with an excursion into the vines on the first stage. He survived this, but electrical failure on day 2 saw him lose 21 minutes and any hope of scoring points.
43 plus left.
Marco Martin lost his rear right tyre after hitting a roadside wall on stage 3. The Estonian lost 50 seconds, but he fought back to 4th by the end of the rally. Behind him, Roman Cresta, Danny Sola and Gigi Gali were involved in a rally-long fight for the lower point-scoring places. They all had their problems, but it was Gali who came out on top in this battle, finishing 5th. And the rally's leading duo were not immune from the unpredictable surfaces and changing grip which make this event unique. Francois Duval coming close to ruining his good work here. While Sebastian Loeb also needed a quick 360 early on day 2. But these were to be minor blemishes on Citroën's total domination of this event. Loeb would record his 8th win of the season, but it was Francois Duval who would have the most to celebrate. A poor performance could have had serious consequences for his career, but this had been an impressive drive under a lot of pressure.
It's really good rally for me. A lot of pressure again. I finished again. It's really good. I am very happy for Citroën, and for me it's really important for my future.
Confirmation that Marcus Gronholm took the final podium spot in front of teammates Marco Martin. But that couldn't stop Citroën moving ahead in the Manufacturers' Championship, the battle finally poised with 5 rounds remaining. The same could not be said for the Drivers' Championship, with Loeb's lead now 32 points.
Wales Rally GB had looked like another success for Sebastian Loeb, who'd been in control from stage 2. But this event would be remembered for the tragic accident that resulted in the death of co-driver Michael Park. On stage 15, Marco Martin's Peugeot left the road, colliding with a tree. Michael Park died at the scene.
Can you give us a word about Michael Park, one of the most loved members of the WRC fraternity?
okay, it was our friend. You can look to everybody in the team. Everybody is under. I cannot tell in English, but it is really terrible for us because this guy was so happy to live and he was so passionate with his job and he knew the risk himself. But each time you think that it can happen to me.
Peugeot teammate Marcus Gronholm withdrew from the event as a mark of respect, Petter Solberg eventually being declared the winner. But on such a day, times, results and points were of little consequence. All crews took part in a minute's silence at the podium. Affectionately known as Beef, Michael was one of the most popular characters in rally. He started his career in the early 90s, competing in the British National Championships. During his career, he was involved with most of the big names, but it was his partnership with Marco Martin, which began in 1999, that brought about his biggest success. Teamed together at Subaru, then Ford,
Marco, where are you?
the pair moved to Peugeot for the 2005 season. During their time together, they recorded 5 WRC victories, taking their debut win in Greece 2003. They've been regular visitors to the podium ever since. Beef lived for rallying and was a fierce competitor, but he was also keen to show the lighter side when the opportunity arose.
Did you watch football last night? No. 15 left, 6 right, 20, 5 right.
Michael leaves a wife and 2 children, while the WRC community has lost a true friend.
Sebastian Loeb received a traditional welcome at Rally Japan in the knowledge that he only had to achieve a top 3 finish to claim a second successive World Drivers' Championship. But on home soil, Subaru believed they'd made significant changes in their setup that would make them the team to beat. Stage 1, Subaru's hopes appeared to be coming true, with their number 2 driver Chris Atkinson taking the early lead and teammate Petter Solberg in second place. Solberg took the lead on the next stage, Atkinson took it back on stage 3, but on stage 4 the Norwegian started to exert his control on the event he won last year. Atkinson then lost out to Loeb, who took second place. And Marcus Gronholm, who moved up to third on what must have been a difficult rally for him and the Peugeot team following the sad events of the last round in Wales. This was also a home event for Mitsubishi, and they too had managed to pull a little extra out of the bag for the fans, with Gigi Gali winning stage 5. That win put him up to 7th, and he reached as high as 4th. But on stage 23, a rock removed a rear wheel, and he was forced to retire. Harry Rovanperä also made it into 4th on stage 12, but on stage 20, electrical problems slowed the Finn. Rovanperä managed to battle on and would eventually finish 5th. Skoda had drafted in Mikko Hirvonen to score points for them, as he had previous experience of the event. But problems with a badly damaged front tyre saw him leave the leaderboard and the road completely. On day 2, the gravel stages became extremely rutted, but Solberg remained concentrated and committed in the lead of the rally. He left the battle for second place to be fought out by Loeb and Gronholm. Loeb with the upper hand until stage 12, when he could no longer hold off Gronholm, who was pushing hard. In front, Petter Solberg now had just 2 stages to complete to claim a memorable win. A huge rock right on the racing line had broken his steering. Huge disappointment for a speechless Solberg.
The car's parked in the trees. Can you tell us how it happened?
That meant Gronholm was now promoted to the lead. Victory in what had been an emotional event for the Peugeot team.
It's nice after what happened in Wales to be, so it's for him this victory. We are very happy for that.
But the biggest prize went to Sebastien Loeb.
How does your second world title feel?
Very good. After a difficult rally like this, it feels very, very good. To win 2 titles each after the other, it proves that the team is very strong and the car is strong, and so I'm really happy for everybody.
So the driver's title goes to Sebastien Loeb for the second time. His margin over his nearest rival, 36 points. But the fight is still on for the Manufacturers' Championship. 22 points separate Citroën and Peugeot.
The Tour de Corse saw the return to asphalt for the WRC. It was also the home event for the Citroën team and the new world champion Sebastien Loeb. Together they would be hoping to clinch the manufacturer's title on home soil. On day 1, Loeb set about that target by winning all 4 of the day's stages and establishing a lead of 34 seconds. His closest challenger was Belgian François Duval in the second Citroën. The title seemed to be within reach. However, keeping the Citroëns on their toes was Marcus Gronholm. He had been as high as second on stage 2. And fellow Finn Tony Gardemeister, consistent as always in his Ford Focus, who would end the day in third. Having won the event, Petter Solberg couldn't be discounted either.
4 left minus, right is 3 slippy maybe, into 4 right minus up.
Marcus Gronholm's challenge came to an end at the end of stage 4. His Peugeot's gearbox became stuck in third.
No, we just try to go to the service, but we have the gearbox, it's blocked, so we cannot move, I think.
So you retiring?
I think so, yes. There is no chance. Thank you.
Day 2, and Citroën was set to dominate, but on stage 5, François Duval lost his brakes. And by the time he reached service, he had dropped to 5th. However, Loeb continued in the same fashion as day 1 and won all the day's stages, maintaining his 100% record. On the first stage of day 3, François Duval was pushing hard to regain his podium position. But he got this corner all wrong. He ended back on his wheels, but the damage done forced his retirement. This promoted Tony Gardemeister to second.
Huomio oikein, K-sumppuun, heti vasen, K-kirraa, varo liukas. Jatkuu pitkä oikein, nopea plus vähän liukas, maali, stop.
Stage is clear for Tony.
Well done.
Well done, fantastic, Jackie, thank you.
Great, cheers, yeah.
And Petter Solberg moved up to third.
Early 5 right plus, opens 40, 2 right minus half long, tightens lead 1 plus, opens half long 30.
But another record was made by the world champion, as Sebastian Loeb went on to win every single stage of the rally. The first driver of the modern WRC era to achieve this.
I think we cannot do better. We've done the scratch in all the stages, even in the shakedown. So for me, it was a perfect rally, yes.
The battle in the driver's title for second spot is still open as Petter Solberg moves level with Marcus Gronholm. Disappointment for Citroën for not winning the manufacturer's title on home soil, but all they need from Spain now is 6 points.
The next event across the Mediterranean in Spain. Sebastian Loeb set about repeating the clean sweep of stage wins he had in Corsica. But he could only manage 5 out of 6 on the first day, but he had established a lead of 53 seconds. Leaving a familiar battle for second place between Loeb's teammate Francois Duval and Peugeot's number 1, Marcus Gronholm. Ford's Roman Cresta in 4th place tried to get involved in the fight, but setup changes saw him drop to 6th on stage 4. Petter Solberg, lying 6th after stage 2, went from bad to worse on the next stage. He slid off and damaged the right front wheel, ending his hopes of victory. On day 2, Sebastian Loeb possibly becoming cautious, won just 4 of the day's 6 stages. And teammate Francois Duval consolidated his second spot with nearly 18 seconds between him and his nearest rival. But elsewhere, day 2 provided plenty of drama. On stage 8, Gigi Gali set the fastest time, but caught out by a difficult left-hander after the flying finish, his car left the road and beached down a ditch. With nobody bettering his time, Gali was in the strange position of being the stage winner, but having to retire. Marcus Gronholm was in a safe-looking 3rd place, but a hole in his radiator on the last stage of the day forced him to retire.
FX for Timo, we have a water leak in the engine. Engine temperature is high. We are now driving in road mapping.
Ford had a costly day. On stage 9, Spain's Dani Sola, who had won stage 3, went off spectacularly 2 kilometres before the end and retired.
Sí, sí, no, 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 no.
And 4th place, Tony Gardemeister, had a narrow escape after this off. It's left him teetering on the edge of a cliff. He eventually made it off the bank, but had dropped 12 minutes. On the last stage of the day, Capafons, the privateer Ford of Mikko Hirvonen, won, leaving the Finn just 7.7 seconds behind 3rd place Xavier Ponce in an OMV Citroën. On the first 2 stages of day 3, Hirvonen reduced the deficit by 1.2 seconds to Ponce, but a stall at the start of the final stage by the Spaniard gave the Ford driver the incentive to push. And his efforts paid off, beating Ponce and claiming his first podium finish.
That's some drive. It's your first ever podium, and on tarmac.
And on tarmac, it's unbelievable. I couldn't be happier. I was so nervous in the start of the race. I saw when he stalled the engine and started. There is our chance. Now I really have to push on. Unbelievable. We did it. Very good.
More celebrations came from the Citroën camp as their drivers Loeb and Duval came in 1st and 2nd, delivering a 3rd consecutive manufacturer's title. There's confirmation that Hirvonen gets his first podium, and there's 3 Citroëns in the top 4. The battle for the runner-up spot in the Drivers' Championship will go down to the wire in Australia, with Solberg and Gronholm both on 71 points. But here in Spain, Citroën take the manufacturer's title with a convincing 43-point lead.
You must be a very, very happy man. The objective was to win the Manufacturers' Championship, and you've done it.
Yes, it's very important for Citroën, but it's also very important to win the Driver Championship, and it's the fruit of all the team work very well and very hard. It's a lot of work to do, but it's fantastic at the end of the season.
After more than 5,000 kilometres of stages, the WRC arrived in Australia for its big finale. And on the first day, the home supporters had plenty to cheer about, with Chris Atkinson setting the early pace. He led after stage 5. But a bent steering arm put a major dent in his challenge on stage 6.
Go from leading your home rally back to wherever we are now, like, it's devastating.
This handed the lead to his teammate, Petter Solberg. But both Marcus Gronholm and Sebastian Loeb were within 9 seconds of the Norwegian. Gronholm was hoping to make this a memorable rally for Peugeot, as they said farewell to the sport. But on stage 7, a bolt came loose on his suspension, causing it to collapse.
We have so many beautiful results in the team with Marcus, with Gilles Panizzi, with Didier Auriol, and with Harry Rovanpera, and with Richard Burns, that we cannot forget. And for us, really, it has been 6 beautiful years.
Loeb was now the main challenger to Solberg. And on stage 8, he took the lead. He was in place to claim another record for Citroën. If he won this event, the team would have 11 victories this season, a record for a manufacturer. But this is not a position the Frenchman is used to being in. A rather flat ending to a glorious year. Solberg now had a lead of nearly 50 seconds, but behind him, François Duval and Colin McRae, making his second outing for Skoda, were separated by just 1.4 seconds going into day 2. Solberg looked completely in charge, but yet again he was struck by bad luck. A kangaroo was responsible for that impact.
6 left, 115. Something is close maybe in front, you know. Jump out now. Okay, 3 right, go down to the hairpin junction. Yeah, come on now. Get out your seatbelt straight away.
His rally over, the Subaru's cooling system damaged beyond repair. Duval now assumed the position of favourite. He was in the right car, but would he maintain his nerve? He certainly seemed to throughout day 2, as he gradually increased his lead. Behind him, Harry Rovanpera had joined the fight for the podium positions. He looked to be gaining the upper hand, but this spin on stage 16 cost him time. McRae would end the day in second place and demonstrated through the famous Bunnings jumps that he was still the showman.
50. 5 left to a crest, tucks, and 4 right tightens, and care forward, and 2 left minus. And 3 right plus, into dip and 6 right.
On the morning stages of the final day, Rovanpera took back second place.
Oikein eri yli, jatkaa pitkä vasen koopus sisään. 2. Oikein eri miinus, jatkaa huomioon. Haen nypyn yli lyhyt vasen.
McRae had generally been quicker on the second run through the stages when the racing line was cleaner, and was hoping that he could go on the attack after service. But something was wrong. A precautionary clutch change was taking far too long. The team lost the race against the clock. McRae was over time and excluded. Respect for the driver's performance and sympathy for the mechanic's misfortune.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Just what can you say?
Take me through it.
I don't really know what the problem is, but with some kind of problem with the clutch, which they decided to change, which should have been a routine service and turned into a nightmare.
It was Austrian Manfred Stoll who inherited third place. while Harry Rovanperä was now clear in second. For Mitsubishi's best result of the season.
Oikea koristeus. Aukee 5.
But the man with the most to celebrate was François Duval. – 2005 had been a difficult season for the Belgian, but he was now experiencing the greatest moment of his career. His first WRC win.
Yes!
I'm very happy. The last rally, the first victory. I'm very happy for Citroën. Thank you, Guy Frecklin. Thank you, Sven. Good help for the last 8 rally. It's really good job. Now I hope I continue next year with Citroën.
Duval ends the season 6th. Petter Solberg took second over Marcus Grönholm thanks to his greater number of wins. But at the top, it's Sebastian Loeb. He's dominated the season and so has his team Citroën, 53 points clear in the Manufacturers' Championship. Peugeot finished second, Ford third.
Neljä, 3, 2,
2005 was only the second year that the island of Sardinia has hosted the Rally Italia. But it has already established a reputation as one of the most difficult rallies of the season. Here, Ford's Tony Gardemeister is tackling the 31-kilometre Luel stage. The speeds are high, but the narrowness and amount of debris on the surface means he must be inch perfect. The camera placed in the Ford Focus's bumper will enable you to enjoy the ride virtually from road level.
Vasen 150. Huomio, pitkä oikea eri kirra eri miinukseksi. Jarru heti vasen hidas kapea risteys tilaa. Jatkuu oikea 7. Pitkä vasen kohdon loiva varo ulko. 5. Oikea hidas. Jatkuu vasen 120. Lyppy vähän oikea 6. Huomio oikea eri miinus lyhyt. Jatkuu vasen eri plus lyhyt kirraa 9. Oikea eri miinus 6. Vasen lyhyt 5. Oikea 6. Vasen eri miinus lyhyt usko. 100. Pitkä oikea yli. Jarru 6 oikea eri miinus. Jarru 3. Vasen nopea risteys. Aja. 7. Oikea täys miinus 4. Vasen eri plus lyhyt sisältä 4. Oikea eri. Heti pitkä vasen eri miinus kirraa. Jatkuu vasen lyhyt 140. Oikein nopea aja. 160. Oikein jarru 8. Oikein nopea plus ajan risteys. Ei. 180. Vasen täys miinus lyhyt. Huomio jarru 5. Oikein K sisältä. 5. Vasen nopea. Jatkuu nyppy 7. Pitkä pyöreä vasen K plus usko. 3. Oikein lyhyt 100. Oikein 140. Oikein serporisteys. 7. Nyppy 6. Vasen lyhyt. 130. Pitkän pitkä. Vasen eri miinus kirraa. Aja. 8. Pitkä vasen eri miinus loiva yli. Jatkuu vasen täys aukee 500. Oikein eri miinus kääntyy, kirraa. $150. Nyppy vähän oikein, täys miinus 8. Vasen eri, lyhyt. 7. Pitkä oikein, eri loiva yli. Kirraa lopussa 4. Vasen K. 100. Vasen nopea plus risteys. Jatkuu oikein 100. Vasen eri plus lyhyt 140. Pitkä vasen eri plus loiva sisältä usko 100. Vasen nopea risteys aja. 0 Markuksen kanssa sekunnin Markosta perässä 120. Pyöreä oikein hidas 9. Vasen lyhyt, jatkuu nyppy 120. Huomio oikein eri plus yli, jarru 4, pitkä vasen eri, kirraa. 4 oikein nopea risteys. 3. Vasen 8. Vasen K lyhyt sisältä, jatkuu pitkä oikein K plus kirraa. 6. Pitkä vasen eri miinus yli usko 4. Oikein täys miinus lyhyt sisältä 5. Oikein lyhyt sisältä 8. Pitkä oikein eri loiva 8. Oikein hidas risteys ei tilaa. 250. Huomio, nyppy vasen laita. Heti oikein K plus lyhyt, ei. 6. Nyppy vasen eri miinus kääntyy. 4. Pitkä pyöreä vasen K plus. Jatkuu oikein roikun 5. Pyöreä oikein eri miinus loiva usko. 6. Oikein lyhyt 4. Vasen K plus. 5. Nyppy jatkuu vasen 150. Huomio nyppy 10, pitkä oikein eri miinus, varo ulko 7. Oikein eri miinus suppuu vasen 7. Oikein eri miinus lyhyt kääntyy 6. Vasen K plus 4. Oikein eri miinus yli usko. Jatkuu nyppy 240. Pitkä vasen eri loiva yli aukee. 150. No. Oikein eri lyhyt. 200. Pyöreä oikein nopea risteys. 130. Oikein lyhyt risteys 120. Pitkä oikein eri yli pidä. 240. Pitkä oikein yli 7. Pitkä vasen ehkä 100. Vasen 8. Huomio oikein täys miinus yli, jatkuu oikein eri plus. Jarru 3. Pitkä vasen eri. Oikein täys yli 120. Vasen lyhyt 220. Oikein täys miinus lyhyt. Jarru 3. Vasen eri loiva. Lyhyt. Jatkuu oikein täys 8. Vasen ylös 100. Pyöreä oikein eri plus yli, kääntyy 240. Markusta sekunnin perässä. Pitkä nyppy keskeltä, täysmiinus, jarru 6 oikein eri sisältä. Jatkuu vasen eri plus lyhyt, kääntyy. 100, varo. Oikein eri lyhyt, kirraa aukee. 100. Vasen oijo, jatkuu oikein. 9, huomio. Oikein täysmiinus lyhyt, ei 7. Nyppy vasen täysmiinus 8. Pitkä oikein usko 140. Johdetaan sekunnilla Markkoon. Oikein täysmiinus kääntyy, ei 6. Vasen lyhyt 9. Vasen 7. Huomio. Nyppy 3. Vasen täysmiinus ehkä ei. Jatkuu oikein täys 5. Oikein lyhyt ei 150. Vasen 380. Vasen 150. Oikein täysmiinus, jatkuu portti 5. Vasen täysmiinus. Jatkuu oikein lyhyt, usko 7. Oikein usko 8. Vasen 6. Oikein jatkuu vasen lyhyt 140. Huomio nyppy pitkä vasen eri plus. Kirraa aukee 150. Pitkä oikein, jarru 100. Oikein täys miinus sisältä. Jatkuu vasen 7. Tai oikein täys miinus lyhyt, kääntyy 8. Vasen lyhyt, kirraa 150. Oikein sumppuu sisältä 8. Oikein täys miinus ei, jatkuu vasen lyhyt 250. Vasen 330. Vasen usko 270. Oikein eri plus lyhyt sisältä usko. Vasen täys miinus. Oikein täys 140. Oikein 200. Oikein servoristeys. Johdetaan sekunnilla Harria. 120. Nyppy vähän vasen 9. Huomio. Vasen K. Sumppu jatkuu oikein K plus 5. Oikein lyhyt 8. Nyppy vasen täys miinus ehkä 5. Huomio vasen eri miinus paha sumppu. Oikein eri ei. 100. Vasen lyhyt, huomio jarru 4. Oikein vasen, oikein eri lyhyt 5. Pitkä oikein täys miinus 6. Huomio. Oikein eri tosi paha sumppu sisältä. Jatkuu pitkä vasen eri plus. Jarru, huomio. Jatkuu vasen eri miinus. Ei. Oikein lyhyt 150. Oikein eri loiva. Jatkuu vasen. Jatkuu pitkä oikein täys miinus. Kirraa pidä. Vasen lyhyt 120. Oikein 120. Nyppy oikein laita täys miinus. Vasen lyhyt 100. Oikein eri plus lyhyt. Jarru 4. Vasen eri. Varo ulko. Aukee 140. Oikein 150. Oikein täys miinus ehkä 7. Oikein jatkuu vasen 8. Huomio vasen eri plus paha sumppu ei. Jatkuu vasen 100. Huomio. Oikein eri lyhyt kirraa jatkuu vasen eri kirraa 7. Vasen K-risteys ei. 3. Vasen K plus lyhyt. 6. Oikein eri kirraa ei. 2. Vasen eri miinus kirraa. Heti oikein K plus varo ulko. 6. huomio, huomio, oikein eri miinus, ei, heti vasen K plus aukee. 4, pitkä oikein täys miinus, ei, 180, huomio, pitkä vasen täys miinus, Kirra eriks lypyllä, jarru, jatkuu, oikein K plus, ei. Vasen yli 4, oikein eri plus lyhyt, sumppuun, ei. 100, huomio, oikein vasen eri plus lyhyt, heti vasen eri lyhyt, Kirra aukee 120. Pitkä oikein eri plus, jarru 3, vasen eri miinus, Kirraa. Jatkuu, lyppy vasen täys 6, huomio, lyppy oikein laita 10, vasen K plus, kiree. 3, pitkä pyöre oikein K plus. 6. Vasen, huomio 2 oikein K plus, ei. Vasen eri loiva. 4. Pitkä vasen eri plus, Kirraa. Jatkuu oikein täys 120. Huomio. Oikein eri miinus loiva, varo ulko. Jatkuu pitkä vasen eri plus, jarru 3. Oikein K plus suppuun, ei. 4. Vasen eri miinus, 3 vasen eri lyhyt, 5 pyöreä vasen nopea plus, riste, 200. Pitkä oikein täys miinus 170. Oikein eri plus, Kirraa 350. Vasen lyhyt 100. Pitkä vasen täys miinus usko 100. Pyöre oikein K plus usko. Paina. 180. Tai vasen eri plus jo loiva 240. Pitkä vasen eri plus loiva kääntyy. 240. Vasen täys miinus lyhyt 100. Huomio, oikein eri jarru, ei jatku vasen eri miinus, Kirraa. 5. Oikein lyhyt 150. Varo pitkä, oikein eri miinus, kiree, Kirraa. 100. Pitkä vasen täys miinus 140. Pitkä vasen usko 9. Vasen lyhyt yli 8. Pitkä vasen täys miinus usko. Aukee täydeksi 7. Tai oikein eri plus sisältä, Kirraa aukee. 200. Pitkä, oikein eri plus loiva, aukee täydeksi 250. Pitkä vasen täys miinus ehkä, pidä 8. Pitkä oikein täys miinus usko 200. Huomio, jarru nyppy eri 8, oikein nopea risteys sisältä. Jatkuu oikein lyhyt 7, oikein lyhyt 8, vasen täys miinus lyhyt sisältä, jatkuu oikein, jatkuu huomio, pitkä vasen eri plus, jarru 2, oikein eri miinus, loiva sisältä, 3, pitkä vasen K plus, ei, 4, oikein K, 7, huomio, pitkä, oikein eri miinus, Kirraa K plussaks, varo ulko, jatkuu huomio, vasen K, oikein, heti vasen hidas, 280, pitkä oikein eri miinus, pitkä oikein ei, jarru jatkuu vasen eri miinus, lyhyt. 7, pitkä vasen eri plus 180. Huomio, oikein eri paha sumppu vasen, 6. Huomio, huomio. Vasen K, kirraa, varo ulko. 5. Vasen nopea risteys. 100. Pitkä vasen eri, jarru 4. Oikein nopea plus sisältä. Vasen eri miinus. Jatkuu oikein eri aukees 5. Oikein eri miinus lyhyt. Vasen eri plus lyhyt. Jatkuu oikein 100. Huomio vasen eri miinus lyhyt kääntyy. Ei. 100. Oikein täys miinus uskos 100. Nyppy eri plus 4. Pitkä vasen eri ehkä. Jatkuu pitkä oikein eri yli. Kirraa. Varo ulko. 6. Oikein eri sumppuun vasen lyhyt. 5. Vasen eri miinus lyhyt sumppuun oikein. Ei. Jatkuu vasen lyhyt sisältä 100. Nyppy jatkuu oikein eri plus vasen täys miinus 5. Varo vasen eri miinus lyhyt kääntyy. 270. Nyppy jatkuu vasen täys miinus sumppuun. 5. Pitkä oikein 140. Nyppy jarru maali 6 oikein eri plus lyhyt. Stop. Kolme oikein hidas takavino. 120.
The stages around Baumholder in Rally Deutschland are some of the most difficult in the championship. Although this is a tarmac event, the type of tarmac within these stages differs dramatically, meaning a sudden loss of grip is a constant problem. Let's see how Marcus Gronholm and co-driver Timo Rautiainen cope with the 30-kilometer Panzerplatte stage in their Peugeot 307.
7. Jaha. Ja oikein hidas kivi sisällä. Oikein pitkä nopea 4 ja vasen hidas takavino. Nyppy 2 ja vasen eri miinus ahdas kivi sisällä. Ja nyppy täys 400. Vasen hidas kivi sisällä. Sata. Ja vasen nopea risteys leikkaa. Ja vasen täys 120. Nyppy vasen täys 120. Nyppy vasemmalle 3, ehkä urat, oikein tosi hidas takavino. Kivet sisällä. 4 ja vasen hidas risteys kivi sisällä. 5, vasen täysyli nypyn 8. Vasen täysyli nypyn 120. Oikee hidas risteys. 8. Nyppy 1 oikein nopea risteys kivi sisällä lopussa. 5. Ja oikeille 4 oikein hidas risteys ahdasta. 8. Pitkä nyppy täys 100. Nyppy 7, hae vasen eri helppo yli nypyn 120. Nyppy eri plus hyppää sido 8. Ja nyppy täys miinus 8. Nyppy vasen laita 3 ja oikein eri tiukka leikkaa kivi sisällä. 7 vielä on kivi ja vasen hidas risteys betoni sisällä. 100. Vasen hidas kirraa. 100 ja nyppy vasen täys 120. Hae oikein eri helppo ahdas 150. Hae vasen eri helppo 120. Ja nyppy vasen laita oikein eri sisältä ja oikein pitkä eri ehkä soraa 7 ja oikein tosi hidas takavino. 5 ja vasen täysylinypyn. Nyppy vasen eri jouhee. 5. Oikee eri leikkaa. 100. Hae vasen eri paha kivi sisällä. 8. Hae oikee eri sisältä. 8. Vasen pitkä eri tiukka, kirraa urat. 7. Oikee eri jouhee, pidä sisällä ahdasta. Urat. 7. Vasemmalle 4 ja oikea laita soraa vasen hidas risteys. 250. Hae vasen täys 120. Vasen hidas risteys, betoni sisällä, tosi ahdasta. Ja oikee täys 120. Oikee eri paskaa ulkona 5. Ja oikee eri miinus risteys 5. Oikee nopea risteys. Ja pitkä nyppy 5, vasen hidas risteys. 200. Vasen pitkä eri helppo. 250. Oikee hidas risteys, betoni sisällä, soraa, ehkä. Ja oikee täys 150. Nyppy vasen eri miinus, ahdas, leikkaa, ehkä liukas 120. Oikee eri miinus yli tien suppuun 5. Vasen eri lyhyt ylinypy 5 ja vasen nopea kivet sisällä 130. Nyppy oikee eri pidä sisällä 8 ja vasen hidas leikkaa vähän 7 ja vasen pitkä nopea kirraa 7. Oikee eri miinus ahdas vähän kirraa vähän 100 ja vasen hidas. Siinä oli joku 17 hidas. Oikee eri ylinypyn pidä sisällä 5 ja oikee nopea kiviä sisällä 5. Vasen pitkä hidas kirraa. Oi. Se ajattaa toi. Ja oikee eri helppo 8. Vasen pitkä eri miinus ylinypyn 7. Ja oikee pitkä eri helppo ylinypyn 120. Pieni rytky vasen laita, hae oikee eri. Nostan näin. Joo, ja oikee eri helppo 8. Ja vasemmalle nyppy oikee eri miinus ahdas 100. Ja oikee eri risteys. Nyppy 7 vasen hidas takavino 5 ja vasen eri tiukka suppuu 150. Ja nyppy likainen jarrutus, oikee hidas. Toista nyppy likainen jarrutus, oikee hidas. Ja oikee eri jouhe yli nypyn 5. Vasen eri likainen. Ja nyppy oikealle suppu 4. Vasen pitkä nopea betoni sisällä likainen 8 ja vasen eri jouheen. Nyppy 3 oikee eri miinus ahdas 100 ja oikee eri miinus risteys paskaa urat. Ja vasen piru pitkä eri jouheen 150. Ehkä liukas, no ei ole 100, niin ei ole välttämättä. Oikee nopea. Vasen eri miinus risteys ahdasta 150. Oikee pitkä eri tiukka kirraa ja vasen nopea risteys. 5 vasen nopea risteys 7 ja hae vasen eri tiukka 8. Oikee piru pitkä nopea yli nypyn likainen lopussa 100 ja vasen eri miinus. Toista vasen eri miinus 120. Huomio, nyppy 2 vasen tosi hidas risteys, ahdas paalit 350. Oikee toista 350. Oikee pitkä nopea risteys kirraa 120. Vasen eri leikkaa 7. Oikee pitkä nopea risteys 120 ja vasen hidas kivi sisällä. Toista hidas kivi sisällä. 8. Oikee eri yli pienen montun ja vasen eri tiukka, tosi ahdas. 150 oikee hidas risteys. 8. Oikee täys ja nyppy täys. 100. Oikee eri jouhee. 7. Vasen nopea risteys. 8 ja oikee eri helppo. 110. Oikee hidas risteys kiviä sisällä. Ja vasen täys. Ja nyppy oikee täys. 100. Oikee eri pyöreä yli nypyn leikkaa. Urat. 8 ja vasen eri miinus heti vasen hidas risteys kiviä sisällä. Oikee eri pyöreä. 7 vasen pitkä eri. Jatkuu vasen eri kirraa yli nypyn vasen laita. 100. Ja nyppy 7 oikee hidas risteys. 3 oikee hidas risteys kivi sisällä. 100. Vasen eri miinus ahdas risteys. Ja vasemmalle 3 oikee tosi hidas risteys kivi sisällä. 7. Nyppy vasen eri helppo. Ja vasen eri helppo 7. Oikee eri tiukka 3 oikee hidas risteys. 7 ja vasen pitkä hidas risteys soraa lopussa. 120 ja vasen täys. 120. Vasen pitkä eri helppo yli nypyn. 8. Oikealle 4 oikee hidas risteys. 100 ja nyppy oikealle 2, likainen jarrutus, oikee hidas risteys, kirraa ahdasta, paljon soraa. 110. Ja sorajarrutus, nyppy 3, vasen hidas risteys. 360. Nyppy 5 ja vasen eri, sorasumppu, älä. Ja oikee eri leikkaa likainen. 7 ja oikee eri tiukka kivet sisällä likainen. Ja oikee eri jouhee. 110. Ja likainen vasen eri ehkä jouhe yli nypy vähän sumppu. 200. Huomio liukas jarrutus vasemmalle 2, vasen hidas ahdas silta. Meillä on kiire ei oo. 5 ja vasen eri ahdas. 120. Oikee eri 2 ja vasen hidas risteys ahdas paavit. 140. Oikee nopea risteys, kirraa, soraa lopussa. Toista nopea risteys, kirraa, soraa lopussa. Nyppy täys 8. Oikee eri sisältä 5 ja vasen pirun pitkä eri miinus kirraa, soraa lopussa. 8. Sora. Ja oikee täys. 8. Oikee pitkä hidas. 6. Ja mutalaikku jarrutuksessa vasen nopea risteys. Ja vasen pitkä täys. Joo. Pitkä täys 7. Oikee eri pyöreä. Ja vasemmalle 4 oikee hidas risteys rytky. 5 ja nyppy vasen eri helppo. 7. Vasen eri. 5 oikee nopea kirraa. Vasen eri. Jatkuu vasen pitkä hidas. Toista jatkuu vasen pitkä hidas. 5 ja oikee pitkä nopea kirraa. 8. Ja oikealle 3 vasen tosi hidas kirraa. Toista vasen tosi hidas kirraa. 9. Ja vasen nopee. Ja oikea pirun pitkä nopee, kirraa vähän. 5. Ja vasen pitkä nopee. Jatkuu vasen eri ahdas. 150. Oikea hidas kivet sisällä. 5. Ja vasen eri helppo. 5. Ja vasen hidas risteys. Toista hidas risteys. 150. Vasemmalle 4 ja vasen tosi hidas risteys. Kirraa ahdasta. Toista tosi hidas risteys. Kirraa ahdas. Ja oikea eri leikkaa. 5. Vasen pitkä miinus leikkaa. 7. Ja nyppy oikea eri sisältä. Nyppy oikea eri sisältä ja vasen eri sisältä. Ja nyppy oikea nopea, älä, kiviä sisällä, kirraa. 5 ja vasen eri sumppuun leikkaa. Nyppy oikea eri miinus, kirraa sumppuun, 4 oikea pitkä hidas. Vasen eri 2 ja oikea hidas risteys. Toista vasen eri 2 oikea hidas risteys. Ei oo. Ja vasen pitkä täys. Pitkä nyppy 4 ja oikea hidas risteys. Yhdeksän ja vasen eri risteys. Melkein nopea noin. Joo. Vasen eri risteys ja vasen eri jouheyli nypy sisältä. 5 ja nyppy oikein pitkä eri tiukka kirraa. 2 vasen hidas risteys leikkaa vähän. 5 oikealle 4 ja oikea hidas risteys. Ja vasen pirun pitkä eri helppo. Vasemmalle 3 oikea hidas risteys kivet sisällä ja heti vasen pitkä hidas. 2 ja oikea nopea risteys ahdas kantti sisällä ja ulkona. 5 ja oikea eri helppo. 8 vasen pitkä eri jouhee. 7 oikea pirun pitkä eri pyöree. 7 ja vasen pirun